Thanks very much for your time.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks very much. So this issue, of course, is heating up, and just this morning, Governor Patterson took to the airwaves, and he was commenting about the legal challenges to the effort to collect taxes on cigarettes sold on Indian land. I'd like you to listen to what he had to say.
I find it frustrating because I announced that I wanted to do this in January of this year. The legislature passed the legislation, and I signed it into law in June. And now, here in September, in my opinion, with plenty of notice, some of the groups, not all, but some of them, only came to the table to negotiate at the last minute because they didn't think that we would actually implement this. So I don't know. I'm not going to presume why they didn't talk to us. And we've been willing to talk to anyone, and, you know, in spite of the threats.
Okay, so he basically is saying somebody is late to the table. He's not, of course, pointing fingers, but I just wonder what you think about that.
Well, I really don't really believe anything that this governor has said. You know, going back to our first meeting with him back in December of '08, we traveled to New York City to communicate to him what our concerns and our ideas and our position was back then. And, you know, he was newly sworn in as governor after Eliot Spitzer departed. And really, he didn't believe he was governor material. He believed he didn't have the clout that he needed as an elected governor would have, and he still doesn't have that today. And the rhetoric that he's been uttering out of Albany, the things that he's been proposing, and this path of taxation and encroachment and erosion of our sovereignty and our territories is just some place where he should not be.
I'm sorry, you met with him when exactly? In December of '08 or December of '09?
When he was sworn in, I believe it was December of '08.
In March of '08, so it must have been a little bit after that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was our first meeting with him in his office face-to-face in New York City.
And what, at the time when you said you put out your positions, I mean, did you offer any kind of negotiating, or was it just, this is our sovereign land and we don't believe you can be collecting taxes, period, end of story. We didn't think Pataki could do it, we didn't think Spitzer could do it, and we don't think you can do it either?
Well, you know, the history between our nation and really the Indian nations of the Six Nations here in New York has long been troubled, and the relationships have really been not good. And what we were looking to do was continue the efforts. Actually, Eliot Spitzer, I have to give him the, you know, he did really well when he became governor. He's put a team together that worked with us on outstanding issues that we had, like the 1976 Southern Tier Expressway Agreement, where the state agreed to do many things and promised a lot. He put together a team that actually we sat down and we had some good relations. We had good discussion. The relationships between us were moving in a good direction. Unfortunately, things kind of blew up, and we were then having to deal with another person and another new administration, which from that day forward has been really disastrous.
Had Eliot Spitzer still been governor, do you think that you eventually would have come to some sort of agreement, that there would have been some measure of taxes, some way to collect taxes, or are you hard and fast on the idea that this is just never going to happen, in your opinion?
Well, we're of the belief that you know, we're going to stick to our position. It's been our position ever since this issue has started some 25 years ago. You know, we have treaties with the federal government guaranteeing us certain rights and provisions under those treaties, and we're going to stand by them, and we're going to protect them and defend them, whatever we need to do that. You know, I think looking back in time, our ancestors have fought so hard to preserve the rights that we have as Indian people, and it's our watch now, and we have to do the same to make sure that our people are protected, and they can have the same rights that we enjoy today, 7 generations from now.
Now, you know, the rhetoric on all sides at this point has gotten awfully heated. I mean, certainly the New York City mayor, who is talking about cowboy hats and shotguns, isn't helping matters, but then neither is the governor, suggesting that there could be violence. And then you suggested that the plan that the governor wanted to implement and is trying to implement now was an act of war. I mean, is it possible that all sides could maybe take a little bit of a breather and try and ratchet down the rhetoric a little bit? Would that help at all?
Well, you know, I think certainly, you know, from our position, when the New York State tries to encroach within our territory, you know, we have our own governments. You know, we're self-governed people. We have self-determination. We're trying to create opportunity and jobs and a livelihood for our people within our territories. And so, you know, when somebody tries to take that away, you know, and the state has been the aggressor, you know, in the past and continues to be, you know, it is an act of war when they try to encroach on our territory and our government on what we do within our territory. And, you know, the remarks of Mayor Bloomberg and the remarks of Governor Patterson in regards to that there's going to be violence and death are very irresponsible comments for leadership people in Albany and New York City to make. You know, and it just goes to the mindset of those folks in Albany in regards to the treatment of Native people. You know, I believe that the idea of termination is alive and well in New York government. And we've seen it with those comments from Bloomberg and from Patterson, and also from Senator Craig Johnson's committee of the investigations that he did and the hearings he held, where he came back and his committee recommended to the legislature that a Indian tribe in Long Island, the Uncochung Nation, be terminated.
Wait,
you know,
I'm sorry,
dealing
terminated.
With,
what do you mean by that?
Economically, termination socially, and I believe that government is not going to be happy until they eliminate Indian people, you know, and assimilate us into white society, and that's our view.
You don't mean elimination as in terminating people physically. You're talking about assimilating people, doing away with Indian land, moving everyone off reservations and completely into white culture, if you will. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. That's what it is. They won't be happy until they take our land from us, and that's really what they're trying to do. They're trying to control and take our jurisdiction and our self-governance from us in our own territories, and that's not going to happen. You know, we're going to fight to defend that. You know, whatever we need to do that.
Okay, JC, so what does that mean? I mean, we're talking about this is coming up to court on September 9th. Obviously, the temporary injunction that you've sought was given to you both at the federal level and at the state level. But when you say by any means necessary, what does that mean? That sounds like violence to me.
No, you know, we've been doing a lot of things. You know, we're in the court system. We're trying to, you know, present our case in regards to our self-governance, who we are as nations. We're working on, you know, showing how illegal this type of action by New York State is and its encroachment within our territories and on our governments. And, you know, on the other hand, we're being proactive. You know, we are working on different initiatives, trying to diversify our economies, trying to do different things so that we can survive and provide the same types of economic opportunities for our people. And, you know, and we've also used the diplomatic routes. You know, we've been traveling. I've traveled to Albany so many times over the last few years in regards to trying to educate, to try to bring information, to bring our message to leadership in Albany, in the Senate, in the Assembly, and into the governor's office. And, you know, they listen to us, but they don't hear us. You know, we leave, they forget about what we said. You know, they've slammed the door in our face, you know, and the governor in his comments that you just played to me, where he's frustrated and he don't understand why people are now just coming to a table. Nobody, you know, this is irresponsible comments from him, and he's trying to, I think, mislead people in regards to the real truth of this situation, because we've been there. We've been there trying to advocate and talk with his people, and we've just gotten nowhere.
Can you say...
And, you know, ever since December of '08, you know, he's used this Indian taxation issue, as they call it, to prop himself up, to try to gain stature with his colleagues and with the constituents here in New York. And that's what they continue to do. They continue to use Indian people to benefit their own political gain, and that's what's going on.
Can you promise, though, that there won't be violence, that there will not be, if you lose this court case and you lose it and you keep appealing it up to the highest level possible, that there won't be violence in response to this? Can you promise that?
Well, we've never been responsible before. You know, it was New York State who has always been the aggressor. They're the ones who have come into our territory. You know, unfortunately, the things that happened in 1992 and '97, we can't do anything about those days. We've been trying everything in our power from the Seneca Nation's perspective to avoid that situation. And certainly the people that we've been dealing with in Albany and New York and in the governor's office, you know, some have understood and some are supportive of our situation and our position, but others could care less, you know, and certainly, you know, there's no guarantees of anything in life. And certainly when somebody is backed in the corner, when their livelihood are taken away, and the encroachments that are being attempted by an aggressor like New York State, we will defend our territory. And certainly, you know, whatever happens, you can draw your own picture, but we're willing to take that next step if that's what it has to be.
Okay, well, we will see how this goes. Of course, a lot of people are watching it, and you are due back in court on September 9th. In the meantime, I want to thank you very much for joining us. Thanks very much, J.C. Seneca.
Thank you. I appreciate it.